the objective of today's training is to just allow you to get introduced to the Lean and Six Sigma basics. We call them as yellow belt. Many of you might be attending a green belt training later on. This can be a foundation for the green belt training. In the green belt, we'll cover all these topics in very much in detail. So it's not that whatever we covered in yellow belt will not be covered in green belt. This is more like a 50,000 feet view of the process. So the whole program of whatever we are going to learn in green belt, I can say it's like a glimpse of that. And let me tell you the agenda, what we'll be covering. So first I'll introduce myself and also the organization. Although for your university hospital, we are not new, but many of you may not have heard about us. So I'll just introduce. Then I'll talk about Lean and Six Sigma benefits. Then we will do a project. Now we will do a project in two ways. I'll show you a project first, and then we will choose a project, let's say reduction of patient discharge time. I remember one of the batches we did this particular project. So I will choose that project. The one I will take a simple project like which everyone understands, because I understand people are from different departments who are attending this training. So I will say recruitment is something which everyone understands. So first I will take a recruitment example, like how to reduce the recruitment cycle time. And I'm sure many of you might be facing this difficulty. In last time I remember, we had done in one of the trainings, we had taken this project as an example. And people said, yes, it takes long time to recruit the staff, and we would like to reduce it. So I'll take one example, simple example first. Then I'll show you the same tools applied to discharge time reduction. Then I will show you a real project done in one of the other hospitals in Saudi Arabia, which I think it was Riyadh Military Hospital, which is medicine dispensing time reduction. So this 2-3 examples will really help you to understand how Lean Six Sigma works. And that is the objective of our yellow belt. But of course, maybe good news or bad news, whatever you may call it, we'll also introduce you to some basic statistics, because Lean Six Sigma is not only about simple tools. Some tools are very, very simple. You will learn these simple tools also, like brainstorming. You may have heard of cause and effect diagram, but some tools are a little bit, they require a basic understanding of statistics. So half an hour, I will introduce you to some basic statistics. That part will be, if you are not at all having any information, knowledge about statistics before, you have not even heard of mean or median before, so that half an hour might be a little difficult for you, might be, but I will try to make it as easy as possible. And for 5 to 10 minutes, I will touch upon the high-end tools also, because it's an introduction. The idea is not that you have to master those tools in yellow belt. You are a black belt, then you have to master those tools. But as a yellow belt, you should be aware of those tools. So you will be learning about them. So then I will tell you, I'll take you through define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, DMAIC. And then finally, we'll give you some examples in different hospitals. If time permits, maybe some different industries, because you can learn from other industries also. Okay, and then we'll finally have discussions, last 15 minutes. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those questions. A little bit about myself and company. That we have been doing a lot of work in the past in the industry, and we have trained 150,000 people around the world. And our mission since 2006 has been to enable individuals and organizations achieve excellence. Since 2006, we have been doing this. And I'm a chemical engineer, and just to tell you quickly, I'm a MBA, finance, and then a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, PMP, CPHQ, Certified Professional and Healthcare Quality. I also conduct the CPHQ trainings, and more than 650 people who have been trained by me have got the CPHQ certification. So I proudly mention this to the medical fraternity always. And 30 years of experience I have got. Actually, it is 31 now. I've grown older, 53-year-old now. So that was like last year's slide. And consulted more than 200 organizations, including around 50 hospitals. And author of 2 books and a poet. I also write poetry, and 2 college-going kids. And my wife is a pediatrician, so she only forced me to do Lean Six Sigma and healthcare in 2006. And then I conducted my first Lean Six Sigma Black Belt training in healthcare. And incidentally, I'll show you that picture also. Actually, just to, I'll show you some picture, which will, which captures that that was a first ever batch anywhere conducted in Middle East, if I remember correctly. First batch anywhere conducted in Middle East. So this is the picture. This was done in King Khalid Eye Specialist Hospital, KCASH. But people from different hospitals had attended, and quality directors of 3-4 hospitals had attended that training. Okay, so that just was about myself. I have spoken in various conferences around the world, and a lot of hospitals around the world, in India, and National Healthcare Service also. I have consulted and conducted training programs, and Chinese hospitals as well. This is a Chinese hospital, and Dr. Tarif Allama, who's the Deputy Health Minister, he's also attended our training program. That video also is there. I've got a video credentials from him as well. Okay, so that was about myself. Now let us talk about what Lean Six Sigma is. Now, if I ask you, what is Lean Six Sigma? Because of course, many of you are, attending the Lean and Six Sigma training for the first time. So what comes to your mind? Means if I just ask you, if you can write in the chat box. If you want, you can mention the checkbook. So as per you, what is Lean Six Sigma? Quality is job of everyone. That was one view earlier. Quality used to be like inspection checking. Earlier, like 20 years ago, when we used to talk about quality, it used to be only inspection and checking. Now, the job of quality has expanded. It is much, much more than that. It is not only checking or inspection, it is about much more than checking or inspection. It all started in companies, earlier in manufacturing companies, but in 2005, it was brought to healthcare by 2 hospitals in US. And within 1 year, I'm proud to tell you, within 1 year of that, I conducted the Lean and Six Sigma training program in the Middle East, and the first time in Saudi Arabia, and that too in Riyadh. Okay, so so almost everyone is right. Like Bandar is telling that no mistakes. Yes, tools to improve working environment. Very good. Yes, it has got a lot of tools to improve the working environment, and it is a tool used in every step of any process to maintain a certain level of outcome. Absolutely. So Lean Six Sigma can do all of these things. And which CEO and which CMO will not like a person who can do all these things? So Lean Six Sigma green belts and black belts are capable of achieving all these things. So let us learn how they are able to achieve. Lean Six Sigma is about reducing the cost, defects, waste, rework, cycle times, improving the quality, efficiency, operational efficiency, productivity, customer satisfaction, capacity, and profitability, and resilience. Then it all started in company like Motorola, where CEO wanted to improve everything by 5 times. And he invited suggestions. And someone told that, why don't you apply statistical tools and techniques? And statistical tools and techniques applications were limited to those days manufacturing industries. So Bill Smith and Michael Harry, 2 engineers, what they used to do in Motorola, they used to convert the improvement opportunities to projects. So what is the definition of a project? The definition of a project is it has a starting point and it has an end point. It doesn't exist after some time. Project is a one-time activity. It doesn't exist after some time. So whatever you want to improve, like see if I take, if they were working, Bill Smith and Michael Harry were working in your university hospital, so they would say, tell me what you want to improve. So you would say, let's say, I want to reduce my infection rates. Then in that case, they would convert this goal to a project. And they would write a project chart. 2 engineers, so what they would do, they would convert everything into improvement opportunities. So suppose you want to reduce the infection rate. So I would convert the goal of reducing the infection rate. Like say, I would say today infection, I'm just taking an example. Today our infection rate is 2%. And we would like to reduce this 2% to less than 0.5% by the end of let's say February 2022. So a project has a starting point and it has an end point. It doesn't exist after some time. Yeah, so there's one-time activity. So that was Bill Smith and Michael Harry were doing. Instead of we doing it, why don't we train people in the organization and allow them to take up these projects? And even if they don't do the projects, the knowledge which they will be gaining will be so good that they can improve their own processes. And that's how Lean Six Sigma started. They called these people as green belts and black belts. They call these people as the people who will be getting training in these tools and techniques as green belts and black belts. And these people will be taking up the improvement projects. Motorola saved a lot of money. They received the highest quality award of US called Malcolm Baldrige Award. In fact, it was instituted in 1988 and they received the award. The first recipient was Motorola because of Lean Six Sigma. And then Mr. Jack Welch of GE, and GE Healthcare, you know that it's quite famous. Everyone knows about GE. So Jack Welch of GE, he was so impressed with this methodology, the CEO of GE, and he told his employees that you will not be promoted if you are not a green belt. So I'll promote you only if you are a green belt. That's what he said. So everyone wanted to be a green belt, and that's how Lean Six Sigma spread. Then after that, they started telling their vendors also, and that's how everyone in the world, they started realizing. And as I said, in 2006, some of the hospitals, 2005, some of the hospitals, they started adopting Lean Six Sigma, and they achieved great results. And a lot of tools in JCI today, if you quite carefully see JCI, the tools and techniques which they recommend, they are all part of toolkits of Lean and Six Sigma. So let us look at what is Lean Six Sigma. So if you ask me in just say 3 sentences, tell me what is a Lean, and in 3 sentences, tell me what is Six Sigma. Actually, Lean and Six Sigma were 2 different concepts, and now they have been combined together to achieve the maximum results. Lean started in Toyota. So let me describe what is Lean. Lean in short and Six Sigma in short. Before I talk about the short definition. A little bit of maybe a clarification might help you. Lean is about mapping the process. Lean is about going and seeing the workplace. We call it as Gemba. Gemba in Japanese means go to the place of work. Go where the action is. Go and see how the things are taking place. And map the process as is. Okay. Now, on this basis, now let me start my definition of lean. Lean is about doing Gemba walk. Gemba walk means walking around the hospital, going to the different wards, seeing what the things are, how the things are taking place, seeing for yourself with your own eyes. So, doing a Gemba walk, making a process map, and identifying the non-value added steps, which we call it as waste in the process. And if you reduce this waste, it will reduce your cycle times drastically. This is about lean. It's very, very simple. Map the process as is by actually observing the process, not sitting on the table and trying to imagine how the process looks like. No, you have to go to the place, go and see what people are doing. Because if you just look at the process map, it doesn't capture a lot of things which people are actually doing. So you have to see. And once you see, you'll see a lot of things are people doing which are not adding any value. People are walking, searching, looking for materials, items, waiting. Sometimes they're waiting for approvals. So all these things have to be captured. And you will be surprised to know that if you do this properly, 2 hours of proper process investigation can generate some good ideas which can reduce your cycle times by 50%, up to 50%, sometimes up to 80%. So this is about lean. Lean also talks about different wastes, overproduction, waiting, transportation, overprocessing, inventory, rework, rejections, underutilized resources. Let me give you some examples. I'll pull out my training material. So hospitals, typical hospital environment, it's high volume, high variation, high variability, okay, high speed. We want to do things very quickly. And sometimes you need to save the life of the patient. You have to be quick. High stress, high turnover. And it is most highly regulated. Regulated means law. You have to follow the regulations. But there's a lot of other companies, industries, they don't have to really, so stringently follow the rules and laws. But hospitals, definitely, you have to. That leads to service breakdowns, wasteful processes, and medical errors. So right now, we are going to talk about wasteful processes. Okay. So what is lean? Lean is war on waste. There is so much of waste in our work areas, in our hospitals, that we are not aware of. Generally, when we talk about waste, we generally think of what we throw in the dustbins. That is what is waste. No, that is actual the output waste, but there's a lot of waste which is invisible to the eyes. So we are talking about waiting, searching, motion, walking, overcapacity, extra man hours, overtimes, paperwork, so many things. And I'll just jump because this is, I'm just pulling my slides from the green belt, so I'll just skip some of the slides. So if I ask someone, how many value added steps are there in a process, in this particular process? Now, first of all, you have to understand when we say value added activity, value added step, it means we have to think from customer's perspective, not from our perspective. Is it adding value to the customer? So first we have to, the very first step is you have to think from what is the value the customer perceives. The customer here, in this case, patient. Now from a blood test, what is the value the patient is looking for, and even the physician is looking for. Here, the physician who's treating the patient, he's also one of the customers. So patient or physician, he or she are looking for what? They are looking for, they're interested in knowing the health status of the patient. That is the value they are looking at. Now, walking to OPD, registering, walking to lab, they are not adding any value. Now, you will be surprised to know that. See, you will say, well, they have to walk down to the OPD, they have to register in OPD, then they have to walk to the lab. Without walking to the lab, how will I collect their sample? That in your case, you may say that yes, it is value added from your perspective. You will say this is part of my process. But we are not talking about from your perspective. We are talking from the perspective of the patient. Patient's value is, I want to know the status of my health, or particular whatever the physician is recommended. But walking, report, like the other things, like a lot of things, they are not adding any value. Although it is required to do, we are not saying you stop doing that. We're not saying that you don't walk to the patient, don't register the patient in the OPD. We are not saying that. But it is not adding any value. Now, when you look at this step as a wasteful step, you will think of reducing it or eliminating it. And then one day will be there when you'll never be required to register in the OPD. You can directly take a blood test. Okay. So I can't explain much because of this is yellow belt training, so I can't give you a lot of explanation. But feel free to interact if you have in the chat box. If you have any questions, feel free to interact. As per the value-added, non-value-added analysis, as per the lessons which you are going to learn in waste, 7 wastes, typical 7 wastes, only 2 steps are value-added. This is how we identify. There's so much of other ways. Let me give some other example. In one of the hospitals, 80% of the nurse calls from inpatients were housekeeping in nature. Now, this is an example of waste of human intelligence. Why? Because nurse is there to treat the patient. But if you observe what happens, the patient is saying, okay, my pillow cover is dirty, my bed sheet is not good, and a nurse is taking care of it. Nurse spends time in doing all these activities, or at least she gets involved, he or she gets involved. But in lean, we call it as waste of intelligence of nurse. Why? Because nurse is there to do something else, not looking after the pillow covers and the bed sheets. If you engage her in those activities, she will forget to give the medicine or give the wrong medicine. Then medical errors will be there. So we call this as a waste of human mind or intelligence. So we'll explain all these things in detail, but I just wanted to give you some examples. Some other funny examples I will give you in a short while. Now, these were the 2 hospitals I was talking about who implemented, learned from this Toyota and Motorola, applied these techniques and achieved excellent results. They doubled the cardiology lab capacity from 8 to 16 by redesigning the work, reducing the non-value added activities. They also reduced the diagnosis to exam time from around 2,700 minutes to 64 minutes by, again, after observing the flow of the patients from the cardiologist's office to the diagnostic lab, the 2 physicians decided to see patients in diagnostic lab. Patients would make appointments to see the cardiologist there, and the daily schedule for diagnostic exams was changed so patients could get both exams on the same day. Similarly, they cut down admission procedure and admission time from 17 minutes to 5 minutes by, again, reducing the number of unnecessary questions. By reducing the signatures or steps, from 18 to 12, they were able to make the work easier. So these are all some simple examples of lean applications, and the end result is really, really good. So ultimately, our aim is to reduce as much as waste from our processes and just deliver value to the customer. Now, customer, when we say, it is not only patient. Customer can be our internal customer also. Internal customer means like I'm talking about lab, the physician may be the customer. And when we are giving the sample to the lab is the customer that time. So you have internal customer. The concept of customer doesn't apply only to the external customer, the patient. The customer can be internal too. Okay, let me tell you some more examples. Unnecessary motion. Observe. We use spaghetti diagrams. We observe how the movement is taking place, and we draw the pictures. It looks like a spaghetti. So we identify a lot of ways. Unnecessary waiting, unnecessary transportation, errors, defects, expired medicines, unnecessary stocks and production. All these inventory wastes, persons who are not utilized, equipment which is not utilized. On a funny note, cost of a 5-minute MD walk, it costs money. Then you have got walk to elevator 1 minute, elevator wait 3 minutes, elevator travel 1 minute, walk to lab pharmacy 1 minute, nurse cost per hour. So I'm talking about in US, and the cost of 5 trips per day per nurse, $25. So it really costs a lot of money for just waiting for the elevator. So if you identify the waste in your hospital, you'll see that there are a lot of waste in the hospital, and there's a lot of ways to improve things, and you can reduce the cycle time. I'm just taking some simple examples. Of course, in our classroom, in the Greenbelt training, we'll take some real life case studies also. I think I have fairly accurately told about what a waste could be. Any questions on this? So I guess it's better to add the yellow belt to the green belt and call it yellow green belt. Yeah, actually, when you are doing a yellow belt is added to the green belt, by the way. So whatever I'm talking about will be definitely part of a green belt. So yellow belt is actually the overview of what green belt is. Like if you don't have, it's like an introduction to the Lean Six Sigma. So lab and pharmacy, second floor, radiation equipment on ground floor. So if you bring them all on same floor, you'll reduce the waste of motion. Exam room interruption may lead to waiting, which is also a waste. Some example, if you look at the typical admission and discharge times, the people are waiting for the beds in the morning, but the discharges are happening, discharging happens towards the end of the day. So there's a long gap for waiting for the patients that can be easily reduced by line balancing. So there is a concept of line balancing, so you can use that. So once you collect the data, once you start collecting the data, you will understand, you will know that there are a lot of things which can be easily done and improved. One more thing, I'll show you one more example, and I'll go back to our, So bedside registration speeds the check-in process at Glencoe Hospital's emergency department. So you are doing two things in parallel. So that is one way of improving your processes. Or smooth, seamless interdepartmental transfer. So here in this case, no need to lift the patient. You can transfer the patient as it is. So this was just wanted to show some of the quick examples what lean could mean. So lean is about just in short, lean is about mapping the process, identifying the waste in the process, and then trying to eliminate the waste as much as possible. Do you have any questions? Anything you would like to ask about the basic introduction of lean? Okay, good. Then we will proceed to the Six Sigma part. So now we will look at what is Six Sigma. Now, Six Sigma, to understand Six Sigma, a little bit of basic statistics we need to learn. Although I will define Six Sigma, what Six Sigma is, giving some simple examples. Six Sigma is about reducing variation in the process, improving the predictability of the process. So both are important. Reducing the time is important, and then being consistent is also important. See, if my average waiting time is reduced from, say, 60 minutes to 30 minutes, that is the average. But what about the variation? Still, if there is too much of variation, I can't predict about the process. So the variation also needs to be reduced. So both average and standard deviation of a process are important. Even in a lab, if you take an example of, say, when you are testing blood, when the readings which you are getting, it should be accurate and it should be precise also. So if I measure 2 or 3, 4 times, there should not be too much of variation. So variation is also important. Reducing the variation is also important, and reducing the centering or mean or average is also important. So Six Sigma talks about reduction of variation in the process. And when we combine lean and Six Sigma, and I'll explain this normal distribution to you using some example. And once I explain this normal distribution to you, then after that, I will show you some projects from the hospitals. And also, I'll also explain the DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, DMAIC process. Are you okay if I take the example of recruitment cycle time? Or anyway, I'll take 2, 3 examples, but is it okay if I take recruitment cycle time example, or you are okay, means you'll be able to understand that part? And after that, I'll show you the discharge time example, reduction of discharge time, and then maybe I'll talk about medicine dispensing time reduction. And so I have got many examples with me, but okay, could you include lab related examples also? Okay, 3 rules. The 3 rules are: you cannot improve if you cannot measure. Or sometimes they say you cannot manage if you cannot measure. And the second rule is you can measure everything. The third rule is, if you think something cannot be measured, go back to rule number 2. Or rather, jokes apart, the third rule is, if you think something cannot be measured, probably it is attribute data. So let me tell you what is attribute data. So data are of 2 types: continuous data and attribute data. and attribute. Something which we feel it's easy to measure, and it can be represented on a number line. Some other characteristics of a continuous data is that it can be expressed as a decimal point, and it also has a unit. So let me take an example. One example could be age, say 53.1 years. Maybe it's my age. Then another example could be waiting time of the patient. Waiting time of the patient may be 30.2 minutes. Now, these two are continuous data. Why? Because there is a unit and there is a possibility of a decimal point. Other examples could be, let's say, blood pressure. Then, can you give some more examples of continuous data? Can you give me some more examples of continuous data? Yeah, so length, yeah, days since last test, yes, waiting time, weight, yes, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Now, let me take an example of attribute data. Attribute data is something which we feel we cannot measure, or it is difficult to measure. So there's a trick to measure a data which we feel is difficult to measure. What is that trick? Let me talk about that. This trick is, first write down the attribute which you want to measure. And then create a category. See, every attribute you can easily create a category. If you can't think of a category, at least create a category which is binary in nature, which is presence or absence of that category. Okay. I'll give an example. And then after that, you can measure it as a count and proportion as percentage. Can you tell me anything which is difficult to measure? Can you think of something which is difficult to measure? And we'll put a measure to it. Now, these are subjective, of course. We're not saying that you can, so patient satisfaction. Okay. So patient satisfaction is the attribute. Okay. Patient pain. Okay. Okay. So these are two examples. Okay. Now, the very, very simple way, as I told you, there's a very simple way of measuring any attribute data is, first you need to create a category. The easiest category could be presence or absence of that particular attribute. Just look at that attribute, like patient satisfaction. So presence of that, absence of, like satisfied, dissatisfied. I can create that category. So let us say I create a category, say satisfied. I can have 5 categories also, but I'm just taking an example now, and dissatisfied. The count here, I checked with, say, 100 patients. 60 were satisfied with our services and 40 were dissatisfied. So now proportion becomes 0.60 and 0.40. And the percentage is now 60% here and 40%. So whenever you see a percentage, it is attribute data. Sometimes we feel that percentage is continuous data, but actually percentage is proportion. It is talking about one of the attribute, one of the category of the attribute, and expressed as percentage is what is percentage. Percentage is like just a proportion, expressed in 100, value of 100. So it will always talk about one category. Typical example, one example is infection. Okay, first let us look at pain as well. So pain can be, we have scale, right? 1, 2, 3. Usually we have 10, scale of 10, but let's say if I take just an example, it's 5. So low pain and high pain. So there is a scale. Now that is also an attribute data. So attribute data, some other example, infection rates. Infected, not infected. So 2 are infected, 98 are not, out of 100. So percentage is 2%. If I just extrapolate. Treatment that is related to infection. Here I'm the attribute where I'm interested in the status of health of the patient with respect to infection. And the category is infected, not infected. So try to put anything what you think cannot be measured as an attribute and try to create a category and measure it as an account, and you'll get some number. Using that number, you can do your improvement. So this enables us to make improvement. So here, if I look at the first example, I will say, today 60% of my patients are satisfied. I would like to move 60% to 80%, and I can take up an improvement project. Today, pain, this particular patient, I collected 5, 6 samples or 10 samples during the whole day. He's at like right now 4, and I would like to reduce this to 2, or whichever is high and low. So you can still monitor the progress. Now, these attribute data may not be so objective data. There's a subjectivity involved there, but still possibility is there. You can measure, and that will enable you to make improvements. So is this part understood? Are you with me on this case? Up to here, you are with me. What is continuous data and attribute data? Okay, great. Now, continuous data. The tools used to deal with continuous data are different, and the tools used to deal with attribute data are different. So when you are looking at tools to deal with continuous data, I can make a histogram. I'll talk about this a little bit. And when I am looking at the attribute data, I can make a pie chart. Pie chart like satisfied, dissatisfied. If I have got 5 categories, so I can have how many are satisfied, how many are highly satisfied, how many are very highly dissatisfied, how many are neutral, etc. Or I can make a bar chart. So bar charts, pie charts for attribute data, and histograms for continuous data. Now, Lean Six Sigma is a data-oriented methodology. So one of the things it emphasizes on is that you cannot improve if you cannot measure. So if you have to improve, you have to measure. So now we know how to measure everything, either as continuous or attribute. Let me introduce, so we have now introduced you to the one basic concept of statistics. There are 2 types of data, continuous and attribute. Let me introduce you to one more basic concept of statistics. And this is present in all our processes. All our processes. This is known as normal distribution. This was found in the 19th century by Carl Friedrich Gauss, one gentleman called Carl Friedrich Gauss. And he found that all the repetitive processes in the universe, they follow normal distribution. All the repetitive processes in the universe, they follow normal distribution. Why he called it as a normal distribution? Give me 1 minute. Yeah. So why he called it as normal distribution? Because it is normal to obtain the normal distribution in the universe. So whatever you do, you will always, if it's a repetitive process, you will get a normal distribution. Now, what do we mean by that? Let us take an example of our patient waiting time. So if I take the example of patient waiting time in our process, one patient took 30 minutes, another patient took 35 minutes, one patient took 25 minutes, 24 minutes, and 36 minutes, and 41 minutes, and 26 minutes, and 22 minutes. It will have an average, which is 30 minutes, and it will also have a standard deviation. So all data will always have a standard deviation. This can be easily calculated. Either you can use a Excel sheet, or you can also, there's a formula, which of course not part of our yellow belt discussion, but there is a standard which can be easily found out. And there's a mini tab as well. There's when you join the green belt session, we'll be teaching a mini tab as well. In the mini tab, you will learn how to calculate the standard deviation, just one click. How to make the histograms also in one click. So let us assume that I collected the data and I got average is 30 and standard deviation is 5 minutes. Now what Mr. Gauss found was a generic theorem. He called it as Gaussian theorem. He found that most of the processes will have an average, and all the population, the whole population from where I have captured the sample, the 99% almost of the population lies within plus minus 3 and minus 3 times standard deviation. Plus 3 times standard deviation and minus 3 times standard deviation. So in this case, if I were to apply the same philosophy to my patient waiting time, my average is 30. Then 1 time standard deviation here, it's a 1 time standard deviation. This is plus 2 times standard deviation. This is minus 1 time standard deviation, minus 2 times standard deviation. If I apply the same philosophy, this is 30 minutes. This is 1 time standard deviation, that is 30 plus 1 time standard deviation, which comes to 30 plus. Can you guess what this number would be? This will be 35. And this will be 40. And this will be 45. So plus 3 times standard deviation will be 45. And this will be minus 1 time standard deviation. So 30 minus 5 is 25. Then this will be 30 minus 2 times standard deviation. It will be 20. This will be 30 minus 3 times standard deviation. Now, All these things, calculations, we don't have to do. We have got all Excel sheets and the softwares which can do all these things for you. But you have to understand the concept. So if I plot waiting time, if I plot the time taken to generate a report, if I plot the medicine dispensing time, if I see anything, any process, think of any process, it will follow a normal distribution. Now, just collecting 20 to 30 samples, I can predict about thousands of patients. Here, I just collected some 13, 15, say around 20, 30 patients. And using that, I can talk about 1,000 and 2,000, 5,000 patients, even 50,000 patients. So the sample size is not related to the population. It can be easily proven. As a yellow belt, I will not go into that much discussion, but just be aware of the fact that 30, 40 samples for continuous data can reveal whole information about the population. Or not whole, 99% of the information about the population. We can say now, in this particular hospital, 99% of the patients are taking how much time, waiting time? So if you go to this hospital, you will take between 15 minutes to 45 minutes. So I'm sure, I'm 99% sure, I'm 99% confident that you will take, if you go to the hospital, your waiting time will be between 15 minutes to 45 minutes. You won't take more than 45 minutes, that I'm sure about, and you won't be, you have to wait minimum 15 minutes. This is about the performance of the process. This is about predicting the performance of the process. And if the process is normally distributed, we say process is predictable. Up to here, are you with me? Is it 99% sure or 98? 99%, 99.73. To be more precise, it is 99.73%. So very, very, if you want to be 73%. But I'm just taking making a general thumb rule. And okay, if you want to know more, plus minus 2 sigma contains 95%, approximately. So 95% of the patients are taking, how much time they are waiting? 20 minutes to 40 minutes. So I'm 95% confident that patient will wait. If you go to the hospital, 95% of the patients will wait between 40 minutes, 20 minutes to 40 minutes. So you are with me? Up to here, you are with me? Okay, fine. So this was the little bit of statistical part. If you are okay, I can a little bit advance also. I'm fine. If you're digesting this much of statistics, I can a little bit more take you a little forward. So let me introduce you to one more concept of control limits. A -3 standard deviation is known as lower control limit. So I have a question here. Why from 45 minutes to 15 minutes is 99%? Yeah, because this is the theorem. This is the Gaussian theorem. Means he observed. Theorem is something which you observe in nature and you just accept it. Means why it is happening, we don't know. But this happens everywhere. And let me take another example. If I take, let's say, patient discharge time in a hospital. And this is an example of real data, which so plus minus 3 sigma is constant. Yeah, that constant is plus minus 3 sigma. Sigma can vary. The standard variation, standard deviation can keep varying. That you have to sample and find. But the term, the 3 remains same. Yes, if that is your question, yes. So plus minus 3 sigma remains constant. So I'll just take another example, one more example to give you the like more idea. This is discharge time of patient in a hospital. Okay. So I can quickly see how much is the average and how much is the standard deviation. And if I do this, average is 303 minutes and standard deviation is 25 minutes. So I can predict about, so if I take 325 minutes as the average and standard deviation, let me predict about this hospital. How much time patients are going to take? Now you can help me, you can give me all of you who are participating can give their answers and give wrong answers, don't worry. You know, that's how we learn, right? After 5-10 minutes, all the tools will be very easy. Don't worry. This is the only the most difficult part of the whole Six Sigma journey. This is the only thing. The remaining tools are much easier. Okay. So can you please tell me, my average discharge time is 300 minutes, and standard deviation is for your ease of calculation. Let me make it 30 minutes. So average will be 300. One standard deviation would be 330. Two standard deviation will be 360. Here it will be 270, 240, and 210 here, and 390 minutes. Are you with me? So 99% of patients in this hospital are being discharged between 210 minutes to 390 minutes. Okay. So are you with me here? Okay. Good. Fine. So this I can, so it's very easy. It's very easy to make a judgment about the process. And how many samples I have to take? Just 20, 30. If you see here, I did not collect too many samples of discharge time of the patients. I just collected 15 samples. So this is a misconception we have that if I have more patients, I will have to collect more data. No, because see, even if you have more patients, what will happen? Your curve will become smoother. Like you will get some more readings here. You'll get some, but the limits will remain almost same. It won't change much. So why should you collect so much samples? 30, 40, 50 samples is good enough. If it is continuous state, and 100, 200 samples is good enough if it is attributed. Which let me proceed further. And let us understand, as I said, like you are understanding this so well, so I can even go a little bit further before I come to the easier topics. So now I've understood, like if I look at this data, let us go back to our waiting time example. I'll just delete this part. So in my hospital, I'm waiting for, let us say, $15 to 45 minutes. So I can depict this as a control charts. Now in JCI, they generally tell you that you have to make control charts of your critical processes. Yeah. So lower control limit is 15 minutes and upper control limit is 45 minutes. This is how the process is today. So a patient going to this hospital If I keep collecting the data, it will be like varying like this. So this is the voice of process. We call it as voice of process. If, as if my process had a voice, it would be telling me that, well, I'm going to, behave between, 15 minutes or 45 minutes. Why? Because the way we have our policies, the number of staff, the equipment which you use, the standard operating procedures we have, the kind of training we have provided to our people, all these things are going to deliver 15 to 45 minutes. And that's how we are. This is the voice of process. But there is another voice, which is also important, sometimes more important. That voice is voice of customer. Generally, we call it as a KPI or a specification limit. So customer says, customer may be government also. Government as well, patient should not, waiting time should not go beyond 15 minutes. So this is voice of customer. 15 minutes, it should be between 0 minute to 15 minutes. Lower specification limit is 0 minute and upper specification limit is 15 minutes. So the green belt and black belt, a Lean Six Sigma professional, what they do is they try to reduce and shift the process and change the control limits of the process. Now, are you getting it? I'm changing the control limits of the process, which was 15 minutes to 45 minutes, to something within the specification limit. So maybe I can take up a project where my average now is, let's say, 10 minutes, and standard deviation is, let's say, 1 minute. So it goes up to 13 and it goes up to 7. 1 minute means plus minus 3 sigma. So if my new process would look something like this, 10 minutes, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Standard deviation is 1. So 11, 12, 13, and 7. So it will be between 7 to 13. Now this process is a beautiful process. It is satisfying the customer, satisfying the patient, satisfying the government, satisfying the senior management, satisfying everyone. Now moving this process from this state to the new state is not an easy task. It is like changing the DNA of your process. This is the way we have been operating in the past. This is the way we have been operating in the past. And now we want to make something like this. It's not going to be easy. It takes time. And that is why we do a DMAIC Lean Six Sigma project. So DMAIC Lean Six Sigma project can make it happen. So let us talk about what is DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, and control. And before I go to that, because what does LSL? Specification limit. LSL means specification limit. So specification, SL means specification. I hope that clarifies. Voice of, now this is voice of customer and voice of process. This voice of process, let me write it down one more time. Voice of process and voice of customer. And now how I'll bring, there are a lot of tools and we will follow define, measure, analyze, improve, control, DMAIC methodology. That is what we are going to do. Let me maybe talk about one more tool, which might be a little, you may have heard of this tool. We do a root cause analysis. Like, for example, Now, we have not learned any tool as of now, so please, I'm just giving in the overview right now. It's not like purpose is not to teach you those tools. The purpose is to give a little bit of idea what DMAIC is about, what happens in define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, and what are the tools which we use in define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So first, in define phase, we generally write a project charter. We write a project charter clearly telling what is the problem statement and what is the goal statement. What is the problem statement and what is the goal statement? So for the last 6 months, the total time spent by an OPD patient in the hospital has been, so they have given how much time, and then a goal statement that it should be 93 minutes. Okay. And then we write the project timelines by when I will complete my define phase, measure phase, analyze phase, improve, and control phase. And after that, I create a SIPOC supplier input, output, process, output, and customers. Donabedian talked about the structures, process, and outputs. Deming talked about the systems map. What does it mean? It means that when you want to improve something, don't focus on people alone. People just contribute 15% of the delays, errors, problems. 85% is contributed by the process. So focus on the process. So first, whenever you want to make an improvement, first focus on the process. Have a look at the process as a neutral perspective. First process map will be high level process map. And then in the analyze phase, you will go into the deep, like make a big, like detailed process map. So the first process map is the high level 50,000 view of the process. SIPOC, supplier input, process, output, and customer. Here, generally I start with customer. Generally when we make a SIPOC, when we'll do an exercise, and in Greenbelt, we do an exercise of making a SIPOC. Everyone makes a SIPOC. We start with customer, then identify the output, process, input, suppliers. So here, the outputs is prescribed treatment, process is some basic steps, inputs are there, and suppliers. This gives you the 50,000 feet view of my overall process. One of the measure in the outputs is having an issue. What is that measure? Waiting time. Waiting time is an issue. And I would like to reduce the waiting time. And this waiting time is high because of the inputs and processes. So my focus should be not on the Y, we call it as Y, this Y, we call it Y. And the inputs and processes, we call it as X factors. So my focus should not be on the Y, the focus has to be on the X factors, which is patient history, available, not available. See, measures, I can measure everything. Time taken to receive medicine, time taken to consult the doctor, doctors available, not available, receptionist, skilled, unskilled. So all these things I can easily measure. So the measures which are X factors are affecting the Y, the output. So the inputs and processes are affecting my output, and my focus will be only on inputs and processes. And I need to collect the data on that. So I collect the data, and I find that patient waiting time average is known. Now standard deviation is known. I go further, and I can make a cause and effect diagram. In the analyze phase, I make a fishbone diagram, also known as Ishikawa diagram, and a cause and effect diagram, and I identify all the possible causes. And here we use brainstorming techniques. There are some basic rules of brainstorming technique which we need to follow. And let me talk about that as well. After I show you the project, I'll talk about that. So here I brainstorm all the possible causes. And once I have identified all the possible causes, I will apply a Pareto principle, 80-20 principle. So Mr. Wilfredo Pareto was an Italian economist who found that 80% of the 80% of the wealth in Italy was with 20% of the people. 80% of the wealth in Italy was 20% of the people. So he applied this to everywhere. Means he applied to the crop production. He applied this to say looking at the some of the organizations, their customers. So they found 80% of the revenues coming from 20% of the 20% of the customers. So all these things, whenever he looked at the data everywhere, 80-20 rule was applied everywhere. In your hospital, 80% of your patients are coming from 20% of the diseases for treatment of 20% of the diseases. So 80-20 rule is applicable. Now, what I will do, I will collect the data. How many times each cause is appearing? And you will always find that some of the causes are appearing most of the time. And some causes are appearing very few times. So you will do a Pareto. I'll explain Pareto after a while, but for the time being, just go with me. So here 80-20 rule means if I look at the waiting time in the registration counter, 40% of the total waiting time is gone into registration counter. Okay. Maybe there are too many patients. Okay. And then 20% of the time is going to doctors. These two are my main root causes, and I will focus on these two and then take an action. In the improve phase, I'll take an action. And they took some solutions, they applied some solutions, and then they reduced the waiting time. So this is how actually a typical process is done. This is how, and of course, after reduction of the waiting time, you need to sustain also. So you need to make a control chart. So control phase, you would like to hold the gains for a long time. And once you hold the gains, you say that my project is successful. So it's not like you improve the process for say 1 or 2 months and the people go back to old habits. You should be able to sustain the gains. So this is a typical DMAIC project. That was a short version of DMAIC project. Now let me show you the longer version of the same project which I was showing here. So the discharge time, the process of discharge time, just now I showed you. They want to reduce the discharge time. So first SIPOC is what is the discharge process. So receive the discharge advice, give file to resident physician, prepare discharge summary, return excess medicines, receive discharge summary, etc., etc. They have listed down what are the inputs, what are the outputs, what are the customers. Output here is the discharged patient. Okay. We write a problem statement that discharge time of patient is 5 hours, which leads to patient dissatisfaction. And we would like to reduce this 5 hours to less than 2 hours. And then we go to the measure phase, we make a data collection plan, and we collected the data. And after collecting the data, we get what the average discharge time is 303 minutes, the way I did it just now. And standard deviation was 25 minutes. You can also make a control chart. So you can make a control chart. They did a control chart saying that, and everything is done in Minitab. Just now I showed you how to do that. So everything, like you have the data, just a little bit of that sample will indicate that this is how I am behaving today. This is my process performance today. Then I go to the analyze phase. In the analyze phase, I can make a cause and effect diagram. So if I go back to my data, so we collected the data of discharged patients, why they are taking long time. So we have man, machine, material. They're talking about so many causes. I can quickly make a cause and effect diagram saying that, well, these are the possible causes which are responsible for my discharge time delay. But not every cause is equally important. Some of them are occurring more, some of them are occurring very few times. Let me see, let me count which is occurring more. So what we did, we collected the reasons for delay. Okay, so for around 70, 80 patients, why this patient was delayed. So the causes were listed down and a table was created. These are the reasons. This how many times reporting not accurate. There was 27. Staff not available 23. Discharge summary delay. So all these things are done. And after that, we look at the Pareto. So 80% of the delays is happening due to 3-4 causes. Which are those? Let us make a Pareto chart. So Pareto chart tells me that I collected around 90 samples. Out of that, 27 were due to inaccurate reporting. The top 4 causes, if you look at, are discharge summary delay, pharmacy delay, staff not available, and reporting not accurate. And these become my root causes. So I can work on them and I can try to further improve on them. And then I get the solutions related to them. This is like a root cause analysis based on the data. There are some other tools also, like which you can apply, which I'm not, of course, touching upon right now, are something like scatter plot or box plot. Just to give an example, suppose I want to investigate, is my discharge summary time affected by the discharge summary delay? Like, that's what I suspect, that it is getting affected. I can further do a validation by using a tool called scatter plots. What do you mean by scatter plot? Let us see. I plot the data of discharge time versus discharge summary time. And I see, are they correlated? And I can see that as the discharge summary time is increasing, the discharge time is also increasing, means discharge summary delay is a very important cause. It is affecting my discharge time. So discharge summary delay is affecting my discharge. So that is a root cause and validated root cause. The data is telling me that I should work on it. Okay, one of the questions is, can we deal with the data which are attributes? Yes, of course. But that's an interesting part. So let me, we will talk about that as well. Okay. And you can ask questions. You can ask questions, although that question was asked a little while ago, but I just saw it. So you can ask questions. So this is, okay, let me do one more analysis. Pharmacy time and discharge time. Is pharmacy time taken by the pharmacy, is it affecting my discharge time? Let us see. Let us explore that. What do you think? Is pharmacy time the root cause here? The pharmacy time is not the root cause. Yes. That's so. Just now, what I saw was that I made a cause and effect diagram. Discharge time, which is continuous data. And I looked at, let's say, two continuous data, summary time, discharge summary time. Discharge summary time. I made a scatter plot. And here, another one was, I think, pharmacy time. I found that there is no relation. Now, what happens if there is attribute data? A combination of attribute versus discharge time. Like, for example, a report accuracy of the reports. Report accurate or not accurate. Now, in that case, what is like? Is it affecting accuracy of report? Now, here I cannot make a scatter plot. I cannot make a scatter plot. I will make a see. It is accurate and not accurate. If I just make it bigger, not accurate. Accurate and not accurate. Now, when the reports were accurate, time taken is less. This is time. When the reports are not accurate, it's high. We call this as box plot. Actually, Minita will make this as a dot plot or a box plot. What do you think? Is it affecting? Is it affecting? Is accuracy responsible for your time? Yes, accuracy is affecting. But suppose this was the case. Let's take another example, staff availability. Staff availability, is it affecting? Staff is available, not available. This is the time. Staff is available or not available. Yes, still you are late. Still discharge time. Still, I had full strength of the staff. Still the time was same. And when the staff was like partially available, still the time is like, sometimes it's same, almost same. The variation in the time is almost same. In that case, I will say yes. The availability of staff is not the root cause. But if the other way around, it would have. So here, just collecting 40, 50 samples, I can easily, if you want to see that graph, I can make it here as well. Discharge time and reporting accuracy. Correct, incorrect. I can make a box plot. Why I'm making a box plot? Because one is attribute and one is continuous. So there are rules for each data sets. For continuous data, different tool. Attribute data, it will be different. So I'm doing staff availability. Let's say staff availability right now. So it's not affecting like really, it's almost same. But if I look at the reporting accuracy, like accuracy of report, does it really matter? Oh, yes. When the reports are correct, it takes less time. So incorrect reports are one of the root causes if I take care of that part. So I've got now two root causes. One is reporting accuracy. Second is discharge summary delay. And I'll work on that as my root causes. So this is how I will use a DMAIC methodology. And of course, you'll good solutions. Let me show you a full-fledged project. Okay, I was showing the project. So let me show you that project first. Then I'll show you one more. And then I'll be opening for the question. So we were here, we did a cause and effect diagram. There is one more tool. Okay, learn one more tool, why not? So here, out of all the causes, out of all the causes, I would like to classify them: high impact, medium impact, low impact. Which are high impact, which are medium impact, which are low impact. And they have classified them into high in our control, which is out of our control. And then I can, I'm trying to reduce the number of causes as much as possible, because I want to get to the root cause, not many, 5, 6, 20, just 2 or 3, so that I have a high impact whenever I'm working on my project. Whenever I'm trying to improve something, I should be focused. So we did a Pareto chart, and the Pareto chart revealed that there are root causes are reporting not accurate, staff not available, pharmacy delay, summary delay. But after making a charts, proper charts, there are again advanced tools also. I'm not discussed, like you can even do ANOVA, analysis of variance, and regression as well. So here, attribute data analysis showed that reporting accuracy is affecting, and staff availability is not the root cause. So this is how actually we do our project. Then we make the process map. We do a process mapping analysis. We identified the wastes in the whole system. So waste, like lots of intelligence waste, errors, inventory, map the process, do a Gemba investigation. All these efforts, and then one more thing, a tool called FMEA, failure modes and effects analysis. Now, what is that? See, FMEA is a tool where we first write the process step, what I'm trying to improve. So here I'm trying to improve the discharge process. Then I write what can be the failure mode. Here, this summary, discharge summary is delayed. So there can be so many. Discharge summary is delayed. There are so many causes. You can mode, how it displays itself as a failure. So here we are talking about the discharge summary is delayed. You can have many more, like I'm just showing an example of one. What does it impact? It impacts, it just delays our discharge time. How severe it is 1 to 10 rating. There is a video called on my FMEA, how to use an FMEA. If my team can just put the video link, you can watch that video later on. I have explained the full FMEA, how that whole FMEA I've explained using some examples. A very day-to-day life, simple examples have explained some, and we will send you those video links separately also. So this display this. So here, 1 and 10. 10 means very, very severe. 1 means not severe at all. So I'm here I'm thinking that it's 8. What are the potential causes? What are the potential causes of this failure mode? So they have written down the causes. How often they occur? If it occurs every time, it is 10. If never occurs, 1. So again, 1 to 10 rating of occurrence rate. I'm giving you a very brief overview right now. As I said, that idea is not to teach you FMEA. FMEA teaching takes around half an hour. So, I'm just showing you, like telling you what an FMEA is, simple, in simple words, right? Then once I have identified how many times it occurs, patient does not write discharge, physician does not write discharge advice in file. So it doesn't happen often. Okay. Physician not available to prepare. Oh, that happens more often. How am I controlling today? What are my controls today? I will write down the controls for each of the causes. And if the control is good, the rating is 1. If the control is bad, rating is 10. Again, I will do my ratings here. And this RPN, this is what is RPN, risk priority number, will be multiplication of these 3 numbers. So severity, occurrence, and detection. So it is very, in a proper way explained in that video, which I've just shared with you, but I'm just telling you that you can do an FMEA, failure modes effects analysis, on any process of your choice. The FMEA takes around 2 hours, 3 hours to do with the help of the team. And you will get the highest risk priority. This is my highest risk, RPN. And then highest risk, wherever the highest risk is, you will give some recommendations. That's what they did. So finally, we have got our root causes. And then in the root causes, we generally give the ideas. And once we give the ideas, we choose the ideas. There's another method called solution selection matrix, which I'll just not talk about right now. So root causes and solution. So we have got our root causes, and I have got my solutions. Then I will implement my solutions and find that finally I'll do my calculations, and I will say that, well, the process has improved. Earlier, whatever was the before improvement and after improvement, what was the one more project I'll show you. This is a reduction of medicine dispensing time, which so you can ask your questions like now after this. I think after this I'll be open to questions. So I'm showing you this project. So problem statement is that medicine dispensing time in Riyadh Military Hospital is taking around 20 minutes, and target is 10 minutes. We'd like to reduce to 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. Now, this is a black belt project. So some of the tools, I'll just, you have to look from a perspective. Right now, you're a yellow belt, so you have to look from the perspective of a yellow belt. And all of you will get a certificate for attending this training. Every one of you will get a certificate as a yellow belt. So we identify who's the champion sponsor, etc. And then they make a SIPOC. As I told you, in define phase, you make a SIPOC. Then you make a detailed process map. And once you make a detailed process map, you do a value added and non-value added analysis, VA and VA. So which of the activities are adding value, which of the activities are not adding value. And then based on that, you will try to do some quick improvement, quick win analysis. So here we say that if I look at some of the things I can immediately quickly implement. And that is a criteria of quick implementation. If it's easy to implement, fast to implement, cheap to implement, within the team's control, easily reversible, should I implement? Yes. So some of the things we can immediately implement. Don't have to really wait for cause and effect diagram. But of course, we have to make cause and effect as well. So cause and effect done, control impact done. We identified some of the X factors, key X factors. Then now we start collecting the data and display the data. So I have collected Y is here, medicine dispensing time. And X factors are encoding time, as you can see, encoding time, number of items, type of clinic, prepared by, preparation time, etc. Then go to the next one. we make a data collection plan, and proper data collection plan we have made, and then we collect the data, display the data, and then we start analysis. Is the profiler affecting? Oh yes, it is. One or two are, they need training. Is the number of items affecting? Well, not really. Is the type of clinic affecting? Oh yeah, cardiology, spinal clinic, and neurology, they are taking too much time. So let me investigate there. Let's do a Gemba investigation. So preparer, issuer. So all these, you start doing these analysis. Finally, you get your root causes, and then do a 5 why analysis. 5 why analysis. Then do a brainstorming. Brainstorming, let me tell you, I promised you to show or tell you about how to do a brainstorming. So let me tell you some of the basic rules which you need to follow in doing brainstorming techniques. Let me play a quick video of how to conduct so some of the rules. You need to follow some rules while you are doing a brainstorming. So, and first brainstorming is to be done when you are doing a cause and effect diagram, and the next brainstorming is to be done when you are doing when you are generating the solutions. So I will. Screen. Is used for either generating the possible root causes or getting the ideas to solve the problem. And of course, if you have any questions, please let me know. So they are mentally prepared for brainstorming. As I told you, that brainstorming is used for either generating the possible root causes or getting the ideas to solve the problems. There are certain rules which need to be followed in brainstorming. The rules of brainstorming are: give equal opportunity to everyone who is participating. So tell them to participate, and you can use different techniques. As I told you, we will be learning in the improve phase. Capture all the ideas, so document all the ideas, whatever is being discussed, whatever ideas the participants are given, someone should be there to document, or a scribe you can appoint to document all the ideas. Leave your designation and ego along with your shoes outside the meeting room. That means don't think that if you are senior, your idea carries more weightage. So obviously this ground rule should be very clear to everyone, and everyone should be encouraged to give an idea, and everyone's idea should carry equal weightage. There should be a non-threatening environment. When people are giving ideas, they should not be afraid of giving ideas. So you should create an environment where people should be encouraged to give the ideas. Also, we should ensure that wherever the brainstorming is taking place, there should not be any disturbance, so people are focused on brainstorming. Sometimes people might deviate from the topics. There is a tendency that some important issue crops up during the discussion. So at that time, you can always create a parking lot saying that, well, this idea or this issue is very, very important, and we can park it to be discussed after a while once we complete the brainstorming on this particular topic. We should encourage people to fantasize freely. We should not put brakes on our thoughts. So you can give some out-of-the-box ideas, you can give some wild ideas, and if people are giving you wild ideas, they should be encouraged. If you give a specific duration of brainstorming, we should try to complete the brainstorming within the time duration and defer evaluation. Now, this is one of the rules which is often violated. People start discussing the ideas. Someone gives an idea and someone else says, well, it will not work in an organization. Or some other person gives an idea and someone else comments that, wow, it's a great idea. So don't evaluate. Reserve your comments for evaluation at a later stage. When you are generating the idea, when you are generating the root causes, they are not to be evaluated. You cannot say that it is a good idea or this is a very good root cause which you have thought of. No evaluation, just write down whatever is being suggested. Generate quantity, do not worry about the quality at the initial stages. So you have to generate lots of root causes, lots of solutions, more the better. A pearl diver, he dives into the sea to find the pearls. If he just collects 10 oysters, the probability of getting the pearl is very low. But if he collects thousands of oysters, the probability of getting the pearl is very high. So similarly, if you want to collect great ideas, some of the out-of-the-box ideas, some creative ideas, then definitely you should create more and more ideas. So how to generate those ideas? There are different techniques. Some of these techniques we'll be discussing in our improvement. So that was about some of the basic ground rules when you are generating the ideas, some of the ground rules you need to follow. And now getting back to our dispensing time projects. So here we have generated some good ideas, and then once these ideas are implemented, we make a proper implementation plan. And once these ideas are implemented, then of course we will be able to prove that yes, the time has really decreased. That's how a typical project is done. So this is just I wanted to share with you like DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And that was our agenda. First, I taught you some basic statistics. Then I talked to you what is DMAIC. I showed you some process examples from all, you wanted all healthcare examples, so I only showed healthcare examples. Okay, thanks a lot. And see you in our training programs. Thanks a lot.